Hello everyone and welcome to Clo Knits, a podcast all about knitting, spinning, crocheting, everything that I do on a regular basis. My name is Claudia and I live in Montreal, and I do this podcast every other week. So if you're new here, welcome. I'm super happy to see you. I hope you appreciate this little, less than an hour of me talking about what I am working on. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I really appreciate the comments you've been giving me since the beginning of my channel, and let's keep this going. I love learning more about you. So let me know maybe what your name is, where you're from, maybe what you're knitting on or spinning or crocheting or whatever it is that you do. So let's start. I have a warm coffee today. Very happy about that. Also, people might ask me where I got my mug, because I absolutely adore this mug. It is actually handmade by my husband's cousin, who made it when she was probably like 16, and she gifted it to me for my birthday, and it is a very prized possession. All right, so let's get going. First things first, what I'm wearing. I am wearing my Throwback cardigan that I knit maybe 3 years ago now. I think it was during the pandemic year. I count 2020 as the pandemic year. 2021 as the second pandemic year. So yeah, if you have been on my channel before, you might have seen that the last video I uploaded was a parade in French, fashion show, a fashion show of all the sweaters I currently own. So I talk a little bit, like in really like quick fire way, about all the sweaters I have, but a little bit more in detail perhaps. This is the Throwback cardigan, which is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. And it is originally a pattern that is made flat. It is top down, and I decided to do it in the round and steek. So I added a steek and I cut into it, and I really love that I did it that way, because it was so much simpler for me. It's using four different colors of Nutiden yarn. So I will not tell you the names of those colors, because one, I cannot pronounce them, two, I don't remember them, three, they're not available. So Nutiden yarn comes out every month. The company is called Honor Air. No idea how to pronounce it. Again, I should really look it up. They're Swedish small mill that makes unspun wool, and every month they come out with 4 or 5, usually 5 colorways, and there are as many as there are on the website, and once they're gone, they're gone. So this collection here was one of the ones that I purchased. So I'll stand up a bit so you can see. It is 3 colors in the yoke that you kind of cycle through, and very thick ribbing. The bottom has a even bigger, like 4x4 rib, I believe, and I lost a button. I do still own it. I just have to put it on my sweater. I really like it. It's knitted and held double, which create a very thick worsted weight, dense fabric, and it is it is unspun wool, so it is super light, even though it's a thick fabric, and it is scratchy for some. It is perfectly fine for me, and I'll show you. I still have to take care of my steek on the inside. I've told myself that I would tack it down somehow, so like I could really just it could use a little bit of a tacking. Well, on this part it folded itself, and because this wool is very sticky, it just stays here on this side. I don't know why it kind of I don't know why, but it doesn't really want to lay flat on that part, on the colorwork section. So maybe I'll just come back to it soon and run a little whip stitch along the steek. I did not reinforce, like I like when people talk about their steeks with like what kind of technique they use. So since it is a super sticky wool, I did not reinforce the steek at all. I just went straight in and cut. I think I added probably, let me check, this way, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I added 7 steek stitches in order to make sure that it was not gonna fray. Usually I do a 5 steek for most things. I think it's enough if you're using sticky wool, but I did a 7, and then I was 100% sure that it was not gonna unravel. If you've never tried it, it's a lot of fun. And I'm actually teaching a steeking course at Knit City, Montreal. It's in May. So if you are interested in coming, or if you're in the area and you wanted to come to Knit City, it is a really fun event. And I'm teaching one class, and I'm also doing the knit night on the Friday night with Amy from La Bien Aimée and Sasha from Montreal, who's a designer. Sasha, I think she says Hire. Hyre. That's that for what I'm wearing right now. So let's talk about, I believe I did the second size. Let me go check. When I don't, sometimes I forget to talk about like details, like which needles I used and things like that. All the links are in my description box to go see the Ravelry project, which will give you most of the information. But generally, if I don't talk about the needles and things, it's because I use whatever the pattern was recommending. I knit generally I have a gauge that kind of fits with most patterns gauges. I don't knit particularly loose or particularly tight, so I guess that works for most. So yeah, I used US 6 needles and US 5 needles for ribbing, so 4 millimeters and 3.75 millimeters. And I did the size 39, really. Well, it came out smaller than a 39 for sure. I am, well, maybe not. I'm a 33-inch bust. It's a little bit roomy, which is exactly what I wanted. So yeah. Okay, let's talk about works in progress, because I have 0. Oh no, that's not true. I do have 1 finished object that was not even started when I filmed the last video, and that was not finished when I filmed my French podcast. So I finished a little pair of little mitts. So those are the Emerald City mitts. The pattern is by me. They are little fingerless gloves, fingerless mitts that are knit with a fading yarn. So it creates this fun, non-matchy pattern. Those are for a kid. So they're a little, I have really small hands, so I can still wear them. But I did do the size, in the middle size. So there's like the child size, the middle size, and then the adult large size. I did the middle size, which is supposed to be for a size adult small, which they actually fit me, but I increased the thumb 2 stitches less than I was supposed to for the adult. So the thumb are a little bit snug on me, but they are for a child. They are for my daughter's friend. My daughter has a pair of those with handspun yarn, and her friend saw the mitts and said, I want some. She's 9 years old, so they're gonna fit perfectly. It's created with slip stitch. It's not really mosaic. I think I wrote mosaic on the pattern, but mosaic technically has to have like 2 rows of the same slip stitches in order to be a mosaic knitting. This one is more like a slip stitch pattern, but you're never using 2 yarns at the same time. I called them Emerald City mitts because mine, I'll show you. Because my version has the green of the Emerald City and the yellow of the Yellow Brick Road. This is the same size, just to give you a heads up. I knit even longer, obviously, because it was for an adult, and because this yarn is Knit Picks Chroma fingering, so it's a fingering to a sometimes even light fingering, and it's the color Sedona. And I used both ends because it's highly contrasting. The both ends are highly contrasting. So I started with this one that's very, very contrasty, and then this one got less and less contrasty because I was pulling from the inside and the outside of this. And you know, that was a 100-gram ball, and I believe those weigh like 25 grams, not even. They're really easy, quick to make, really fun pattern to do, to whip up quite quickly, but not boring. And this is made in spin cycle, dyed in the wool, which is a sport weight. So even though they have the same number of stitches as these, mine turned out bigger, obviously. So that's that. I do consider it to be a pattern, project that I'll enter in my Mosaic knit along, just because it kind of is Mosaic. It's not Mosaic 100%, but I'll count it. I'm sorry about my hair. It's doing this crazy thing right now where I have these cowlicks in the back of my neck, and they're out of control. They just, like, my hair grows up and out, and my hairdresser hates the back of my neck. I hate it too, but my appointment is tomorrow, so tomorrow I'll have better hair, and you won't see it until next week. But anyway, yeah, it's annoying. Very annoying. Whatever. I'm not going to be looking at it. Okay, so that's my only finished object. Literally casted them on a Sunday, and like 4 days later, a week later they were done. But like one mitt can take me like a small weekend to knit. Really quick knit. I'll be also making a second pair of these for the brother of the friend, because he is in kindergarten and he saw my daughter with her mittens, and he said he also wanted a pair. So you're gonna see another one of those soon. I could whip up like a million of those. Okay, then the rest is all work in progress. Let's talk about this one while we're talking about the Mosaic knit along. So I'm running a Mosaic knit along. I'm gonna have some prizes to draw from. I'll include the English speaking people too, because you know, now I can do combined knit alongs, and I have a Ravelry discussion group where I have a knit along discussion, and you can also hashtag Cal Mosaic on Instagram. So this is my second entry into the Mosaic knit along. It is the shift cowl. The shift, I think it's just called the shift, and it's a cowl by, again, Andrea Mari. I guess today is my day for that. And this is how far along I am, which is not much, but more than 2 weeks ago. It is knit out of, well, the contrasting color is this beautiful spin cycle dyed in the wool from Montricot in Quebec, and it is the only store that has it because it's an exclusive for them. It's called Heliotrope, and yeah, it is their colorway. I love it. It's beautiful. So now I'm in the blue section, and I think I'm gonna hit a purple section afterwards, but I can't wait to get into those like chartreuse areas. I think it's going to be a lot of fun with the contrasting pink and gold. I love green and pink together. Not everybody does what I do. I'm a lover of color, so I'm pairing for the main color this yarn, which is the Brindille from Bleu Poussière in the color Alexis on Fire, which is like a very intense pink, and this mohair from Happy Knitting from Espace Tricot. So this is their little ball band. Happy Knitting Bliss mohair in the color Honey Mustard, which creates this super funky fabric that has a beautiful golden halo and a background of pink. It is completely wacky, and I don't mind. I actually like the wacky. I hope I have enough of this. I had a good amount, but it is sport weight. not fingering weight. So even though it's pretty heavy, maybe the yardage is a little flush. And I'm using, instead of alternating, obviously, like you can see in Andrea Mari's pattern, there's 3 different spin cycle yarns that she alternates, A, B, C, and she goes like, you know, the background color is A for the first section, B for the second, C for the third, and then she alternates. I'm not alternating the background color, obviously. I'm just doing the Brindille by Bleu Poussière and the Mohair as my background color, and just going and doing the blips in the spin cycle yarn. And the back looks like this for people interested in looking at the back of a work. And I believe that this is gonna be sewn in the back. I think this part is the part that in the back gets sewn to create this like cowl that has a point. I have no idea. I'll have to, once I sew it up, I'll see how it goes together. I'm just following the pattern, not questioning anything, using the needles that are recommended. It is right now being stored in my beautiful Jezabel Bay felt bag that I've talked about in the first podcast episode. I watch Taylor from Wool Needles Hands, and she purchased a large leather bag from Jezabel Bay, and I have major FOMO. And I really want one, but I don't think I can swing the expense right now, so I'm just gonna wait on it. But like, I literally have every size bag from Jezabel Bay. I have small, I don't know where it is. I have one. I have one small fabric bag. I have a medium fabric bag. I also have this one, which is a medium felt bag. And my latest purchase is this one, which I adore, which is the handbag, basically a purse that has this leather flap with, you know, lots of things inside here, but a pocket for your phone or other knickknacks with, you know, a long strap. So I wear it crossbody, and it is just amazing. So it makes me want to own more of her leather goods. But yeah, one day I'll swing the expense and I'll purchase it. But if you've been looking for great knitting bags, just go check out Jezabel B. She's amazing. Okay, work in progress. I've been knitting on my Ridari. I've talked about it 2 weeks ago quite a bit, so I'm just gonna kind of go faster on this one. It is a sweater, knit in pieces, full sleeve here that I had last time, I believe, already finished, and second sleeve here that I'm almost done with. Am I? I am. I only have a few centimeters to go, and I messed up here. On the first sleeve I messed up, and I did increases before this little Fair Isle pattern where I was supposed to increase after, but it was a 4-stitch increase, so it still worked with the patterning. So I have one extra of those little things on this sleeve than on this sleeve. And I think I started increasing here a little bit past when I started here, because I was knitting during my kids' circus class, and I didn't measure. I was just knitting, and then I went, oops, maybe I should start increasing. So I started increasing. So my ratio of increase is different in here than in here, but to be honest, it's the least of my worries. It just really matters to me that they fit. Like it in the end, they're gonna end up with the same amount of stitches. They're gonna look like 1 stitch or 2 stitches doesn't change the look of a sleeve, in my opinion. So I'm not gonna rip back for that. Absolutely not. I'm holding this Nutiden double, which is the Varka, I think, or Vaka. And I'm holding it with this mohair from Urso Yarn Co., but I don't believe it's a colorway that she does still. So it was, I don't remember what the name was, and I bought it off of someone that had it in stash for a very long time. I had 3 balls of this one. I had 3 plates of this one. And then the other 2 little balls of Mitsuden are here. And where's the other one? I had it a second ago. Probably sitting on it or something. Okay, well. It either fell on the floor or I'm sitting on it. It doesn't matter. But anyway, the little, this pink and this pink are not held with a mohair. They're just by themselves. And they were bought at the same time as this one. So they were part of the same collection. So soon I'll be casting on for the body. And I'll be doing the body. And it's a sweater, so there's no cutting or anything involved. I'll just knit the entire body. And then I'll join the sleeves in the body and knit the gorgeous yoke. Again, knitting with the same needles recommended in the pattern. And I'm knitting the smallest size, and I adjusted the number of stitches. So this one, I started with the same amount, but instead of increasing to like, I believe 66 stitches on the sleeve, I increased to 56 stitches because literally, I think, you know, on top of another, this is on top of another big sweater. There's still like, it's pretty much perfect, which is what I wanted. I want to be able to wear it as an outdoors sweater that goes over top of bigger sweaters. So bigger than that, it would have been kind of way too intense. So yeah, I'll have to adjust the number of stitches on the body. We'll see when we get there, which is quite soon because I'll have to cast on soon enough. Okay, I'll put it here. All right. I have not been knitting that much in the last 2 weeks because I became a little bit obsessed with something else, which is something that was waiting in my my yarn storage for a while, and it is a Sunburst granny square blanket in the making. So I'm not gonna show the whole thing because it's massive already, but this is what I've been working on the most. The actual granny squares have been made for quite a while. I made half of them one color all around, and others are a different color each round. And it is made with minis from an advent calendar that I received from Bitten Mitten in Quebec. In Quebec? Are they in Quebec? Ontario. I think they're in Quebec, but anyway, in Canada. So they sent me this beautiful advent calendar, and like all the colors are here, and I didn't really know what to do with it until I went, yes, I want to make a granny square blanket. But I fell in love with the Sunburst granny pattern, which I found from, is it Nautical Crochet maybe on YouTube? I'm not sure who I watched the I'll look it up, but someone on the internet has a beautiful tutorial in English. I made one in French, but I really love this pattern in particular. I think that those are super pretty compared to just regular granny squares. And then yeah, I was making a square every once in a while for a while, and then I had a ton. So I decided to start putting them together, and I'm using the join as you go method. And I'm using a 3.5 millimeter hook with all fingering weight yarn, which might be stupid because, like, to be honest, when I started knitting, crocheting it, I was like, holy cannoli, those squares are not big. It's gonna take me forever. At the same time, I like the weight of a fingering weight blanket in crochet. I think that if I were to make a blanket in like a DK or worsted weight in crochet, I would feel like it's too heavy. Like I have a scrappy granny stripe blanket, as does everybody. And I really appreciate the weight of it. It's not too heavy. So, you know, takes forever, but the reward is there. And for the main thing, I went to buy 3 balls of Pro Lana sock and wool in white. The color is 401. I bought 3. I don't think I'm going to need 3, but what I was explaining in my French podcast is this, and people had really good recommendations for me to help me out. I went a little overboard, and when I started putting these together, I put 14 of them together that way, thinking I was going to make a super ginormous blanket for like a twin size bed that was going to like fall over the sides and everything. The problem is I didn't think that, you know, with an advent calendar, I don't have enough for that. Like in my head, I was going to make a million squares. And then I realized as I'm, you know, crocheting it, that after knitting 4 rows of these on, I only have enough yarn to make 4 more. So it's only going to be 8 squares. So I decided to flip it around. I'm like, if it's 14 squares high and 8 squares wide, then it's still not great for proportions. Like it's going to be way too long for the amount of width. So what I think I'm going to do, because I really, and with the join as you go method, the thing is I can't just take out a few rows. Like if you're joining row after row, then you can like kind of take out some pieces without undoing the whole thing. But if I start taking out pieces on the 14 long, it's going to unravel. So I have to decide what I'm going to do to add width to this. I thought that like adding more minis would be an option, but then I feel like because I knit all the other minis like mixed together, it wouldn't fit so well with the rest if I start adding different colors. So someone told me, and I was like, oh, maybe I can just add like 2 lines of white squares on either side, which is going to be 10 by 14, which is better. But someone had a great idea saying maybe those 4 can be the 4 that you already have can be your middle, and then you can kind of add on the next row each side 1 white on each corner, and then the other row you have 2 at the top and at the bottom, so it's kind of like fading into white squares. So I think I might try that. Only thing is the white yarn is a little bit thinner than the rest, but I don't think it's going to matter much. And if I end up not having enough of the white, I can always go buy more, because that one will not be an issue. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll add a little border, like a super simple border all around. So that's what I've been working on. I'm trying my best to keep going while I'm on a roll with that, because I know that if I put it away, I'm not coming back to it until like Christmas. I really get into like bursts of wanting to work on crochet patterns, and right now I am into it, so I'm kind of going with the flow. Do you do the same thing? Like, do you have a project that you kind of, that is always like a long-term, like blankets from your long-term projects? I'm not going to crank out a blanket, not in fingering weight anyway. So all the blankets that I own have been like worked on for like, you know, a full, I think my scrappy one like was like 2 or 3 years. And then the one I'm about to show you now is going to be probably, I think it took me maybe a full year, maybe not. Sorry, I'm closing this box. It's making a lot of noise. So someone asked when watching, so that's all my active work in progress right now. I have other things, but I'm not actively working on them, so I'm not going to show you. Someone had a question. Someone was asking me about the blanket that was in the background here on my first podcast episode. And I can't believe I forgot to talk about it, because it's glorious. So it's a throw or a blanket. Like, it's not a huge blanket, so I would call it a throw. This one is called the Stamina by Camille Descoteaux. And it is a modular blanket or throw. The shape, I can probably put a picture up here of my kid on it or my dog on it, I don't remember. It is a hexagon shape, and it was knit using the yarn that Camille designed it with, which was an advent calendar from Bleu Poussière. I had the tweed version, as you can see. So all my yarns are tweedy. So it's the fingering tweed base. I had, I believe I had 24 or 25 minis, and they were all 20 grams. And the genius of Camille, first of all, is putting all of this together with a slip stitch motif. So this is absolutely mosaic knitting. So if you wanted to do that during the Mosaic Cal, you could. But the absolute genius of Camille is that every single square or triangle, every single triangle weighs 20 grams. So with two 20-gram minis, you can make two triangles. You can make a triangle where the dark is the foreground, and like this is the entire triangle, like the big one, right? This is one triangle here. You can make one this, and you could make the reverse, but I opted to like kind of mix and match. So I did A, B, and then B, C, and then C, D, D, E, and all that. And every time you only get like 1 gram left over. So all the leftovers are like so small that you can just toss them out without worry. Like you don't have leftovers. And to me, that's genius. And she, on her blanket, she whip stitch all of the triangles together just with a thread, but I decided to crochet it with a little like single crochet that I hook into both sides of my knitting to create this like line throughout all of it. And I used a dark blue navy yarn that I had in my stash to do that. So that is not part of the advent calendar, just because I had one mini left over after doing all this, the triangles, which leads me to believe that there was 25 minis in the advent kit. And it wasn't a color that I wanted to finish the whole thing with, and I was not sure that I would have enough to knit the entire border, which is an I-cord, plus attach all of it together. So I chose a different one that I had. So it's really gorgeous. Like I said, fingering weight blankets are just so floppy and not heavy and perfect. My kids love it. I love it. It just kind of gets tossed everywhere, anywhere, and stays there. My kid likes to use it as something you put on the floor to lay on, like a mat. No, not a mat. Carpet, like a little tiny carpet in her bedroom, and then she dances on it, and she says it's her dance floor. Cute. So that's that. And as far as, I have a spinning project to show you. So all of my spinning things right now they've been the same ones, the same spinning project for a long time, and I haven't had the stamina to just kind of finish them. So I have one project on a Turkish spindle that is just one braid that I'm trying to finish, and I just am not. That I've been working on probably since like July. And then I have a project that's kind of on my supported spindles, but also on my wheel, because I'm doing a long draw and I'm trying to spin as many colors as I can so I can knit a Mary Wallen sweater. So the original idea was to knit which one is it? I have it in my queue on Ravelry, I believe. I'll tell you. It's been so long that I don't even remember which one I wanted to do, because like there's so many Mary Wallen sweaters that are just gorgeous. Oh no, I didn't put in my queue. Where is it? Anyway, I'll show you the spinning and the sweater that I am interested in knitting in another episode, but it is absolutely a super long-term project because spinning enough yarn that fine for a sweater that's a colorwork sweater with like 14 colors is just kind of silly almost, but I really like the challenge. So that's been on my supported spindles and sometimes on my wheel, and I just spin like small amounts at a time because I'm not going to spin full 100 grams because I need multiple small colors to do this one. But I also I had bought 3 braids from Wolfiend. If you don't know Wolfiend Fiber, she's amazing, and this is one of her business cards or like color cards. So I bought 3 braids, 3 4-ounce braids that were 50% merino, 25% flax, and 25% tussa silk. The flax was a first, and it was quite tricky to spin, but I really wanted to use I have one braid that's called chrysanthemum, one that's called ballerina, and the other one that's called, I will find it and tell you. And I wanted to use those 3 braids and make a 3-ply blending those 3 braids. And I wanted it to become either a fingering to sport weight yarn. So you can imagine that the 3-ply at fingering weight or sport weight has to be spun quite thin. So it took me a long time. So the first one I spun up was this one, which is coming apart a little bit, but it's okay. It's gonna survive. And it is a purple, pink, orange, rusty, beige, all those colors. So that's one braid, and I stripped the braid in I think 4 sections in order to spin them one after the other, so the color repeat wouldn't be like super crazy long, but just long enough to see it. Then I have this one, which is the colorway ballerina, so you can see that it's just beige and pinks, but mostly pinks. So that one is going to be kind of much more the same throughout. And then the last one that I finished today, this morning, is this one, which is the chrysanthemum, and it has some purple, some green, and some beige and pink, and yeah, so like so this one and this one have some beige and purple and pink. This one has pink, this one has some orangey, this one has some green. So I think that those 3 plied together are going to create such a beautiful wool. I think. I mean, we'll see. So the goal is to spin those, to ply those together in a classic 3-ply on my wheel, and hopefully have enough yarn to make a sweater. And I want to make a simple sweater, like maybe a DRK Everyday by Andrea Mari, or I don't know, maybe just the basic raglan or petite knit type sweater. We'll see what the yardage is that I get, and that really is gonna, and the thickness of the yarn, and probably I'll swatch and see what it's gonna become. But it's really exciting because that's been on my wheel for a long time, and I was quite discouraged because like literally like spinning 4 ounces, well now 12 ounces of this blend in such a fine way, 3 braids of that is like, it's long. I listen to audiobooks while I spin, and you know, sometimes, like most of the time, I find it super relaxing and I can lose myself in doing it, but towards the end I was kind of tired of this project in particular, so I'm just really excited to see it come together. And sorry, I'm just really excited to see it come together and apply it together and see the result of this image I had in my head. Hopefully it's nice. I don't know. And now I can put something else on my wheel. Maybe I finish my Mary Wallen project. Or maybe like I look that way because I have a big bag of fiber that I would love to spin at a thicker weight, and that is difficult for me. Like my default spinning is like super thin, and when I try and spin bigger, I kind of revert back to smaller, so I'll have to kind of play with that one. I think I have plenty, so maybe I have time, like I can play with it and see what the ideal weight of yarn it wants to be. We'll see. So yeah, that's kind of what I had to talk about today. I did not purchase yarn. I mean, this was mostly for my French channel because I don't have a lot of subscribers here, and I'm not expecting you to be, since you don't know me from, you know me from very recently, so we don't necessarily have a rapport with that kind of stuff. But I do have a Yarnable account where I received the first box, a Yarnable box, and gave the link to my French subscribers to go register if they want to get a discount on their first Yarnable box, and it gives me some extra affiliate money. I'll talk to you about it because it is something that I got as far as new yarn. So this is the color of the February month, and it is a DK Superwash Merino nylon 75-25. So it's really awesome because I don't have much DK weight for socks. And so this is going to be most likely, actually pretty much certainly, socks. And in my Yarnable box, there was this that said, yarn is my love language, which is true. And it's a nice little tote bag. It had this thing for taking notes on your projects, which I don't really do, but it could be cute. I think my kids might like to write in this because I just don't really take notes. I talked about it on my unpopular opinions. I did get a pattern for the DK weights, so if I wanted to knit a hat, I could. I don't think I will. I think it will be socks, but it's always nice to have a pattern as well for another skein of DK that might want to become this hat. And I had a little sticker that says yarn is my love language. So if that interests you, if that interests you to receive a monthly subscription box, you can go in the description box. There's going to be a link to register. Right now the registrations are closed, but when they open up, they send you an email saying, hey, there's space now, do you want to register? And then if you clicked on my link, it's going to give me a little bit of a kickback on your purchase. You don't have to, obviously. It is something that I do mostly for my French channel because my French channel is actually my living. That's how I make my living right now in the knitting world. I teach classes, I have my YouTube channel and some online courses in French that pay my bills. So I have little extras like this Yarnable subscription to help me out. That being said, thank you so much for watching. There will be another video next week. I don't know yet what it's gonna be because I have a bunch of ideas, but if you have ideas of things you'd like me to cover, if you wanna have a discussion about certain things that is not necessarily a podcast of what I'm knitting and what I'm thinking about knitting, but more like other discussions concerning the yarn world, or if there are tutorials that you would like to see that you feel maybe are missing from the YouTube sphere, let me know. I'd be really interested in knowing what you would like to see on this channel going forward. Thank you very much for having been here with me. Happy knitting. See you in a week or two, depending. Bye.